The video game world is rocked by another scandal. Hi, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be talking about the brewing scandal in the Donkey Kong community, and it brings up an old figure, Billy Mitchell, and whether he is a cheater or not. Here's a headline. Billy Mitchell, the gamer made infamous by 2007's King of Kong, might have cheated for his best scores. Scandalous. Well, this is something that I know about, that I love. I love the film King of Kong. I've seen it several times. It could have been my favorite movie of the year when it came out. And it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. It is about the competition between two guys in high scores of Donkey Kong. And at the conclusion of the movie, Billy Mitchell submits a VHS videotape where he has a gameplay of 1,047,000 on Donkey Kong, a new record at the time. And it's this particular tape that I am going to be looking at. There are a few disputed games, but for simplicity, I'll just talk about this one. So here's what you need to know. The dispute comes from a guy in the Donkey Kong forums. And what he is saying is he's making the claim that that videotape that was submitted in the King of Kong movie was recorded on an emulator and not a physical stand-up arcade machine. So for those of you unfamiliar, an arcade machine, what I mean by that is the stand-up ones in the old arcades where you'd put a quarter in to play. And an emulator is a program that you would have on your computer that would replicate a game. And so the claim is that the videotape is not of an actual arcade machine, but instead of a computer. And there's a difference between the two. So how can we tell the difference between an arcade machine and an emulator? Well, it's pretty tricky, but there are some things that if you look at frame by frame, in some of the transitions, you can tell the difference between the two. And I'll give you one example just so you know what I'm talking about. The second screen in Donkey Kong is the Rivets Screen. That's blue in color where you jump over rivets and it all falls down and Donkey Kong falls. And when it goes to that screen, you can't see it with your naked eye, but if you look at it in video software, you can go frame by frame. And originally, the ladders will appear, and then the rest of the screen will appear on an emulator. And on the arcade machine, 3/4 of the ladders will appear, and then the rest of the screen will appear. So there's a difference between the two. You can't see it with the naked eye, but you can look at it frame by frame. And that's what I did. I did my own analysis. I downloaded this supposed game from Billy Mitchell, and I looked at it frame by frame, and indeed, it was recorded on an emulator. But the question is that the real videotape? So here's where things get juicy. This video game that they are claiming is Billy Mitchell's game from the King of Kong was uploaded only in 2016, and it was uploaded by a guy named Dwayne Richard. Now, I watched an interview on the Eastside Dave show on Compound Media, where he's a big fan of Billy Mitchell, and I knew right away that if there was any news with Billy Mitchell, he'd have to be on the Eastside Dave show, and he was. And in the interview, Billy Mitchell states that the analysis that's on the Donkey Kong forums is correct, that that game was recorded on an emulator. He says, but that was not my game. I submitted a videotape of the actual gameplay and an additional tape that was recorded in the arcade that showed the entire room for the duration of the gameplay. And once those tapes are released, he will be exonerated and he will rightfully hold that record.
What is MAME exactly, for those who may not know? Okay, I've never even played MAME. I don't have MAME loaded in my home, but basically MAME is an emulation of what is in the arcade.
That's right.
It's just not the arcade. Therefore, it's a different platform. There are MAME world records. There is Donkey Kong MAME world records, okay? And the film footage that he has, that Jeremy has, shows MAME play.
MAME.
Ah.
Now, I contend that if he gets the original tape or he gets the original room shot, he will see that what I say is true. I'm not disputing what he says. What I'm disputing is the fact that I want him to have the original tape.
Okay. Now
And
we're
the
getting
fact of the
somewhere.
matter is that that original footage
Okay.
was given to Twin Galaxies. Twin Galaxies has it or should have it.
Additionally, a guy was on the show named Richie Knuckles, another retro gamer. And Richie Knuckles made the claim that Dwayne Richard contacted him in 2009 about helping him use an emulator and doctoring the videotape and submitting it for a Donkey Kong high score.
Way back when, in like, I don't know, 2009, I'm going to say.
Before you met me?
Contacted me and asked me to help him doctor a tape of MAME Donkey Kong to make it look like we got the high score to put egg on Twin Galaxy's face.
Oh my God. That's a
He asked me to
bombshell.
do that for him. And I am sure I'm not his only guy to go to.
So they're
with
trying to
that being
embarrass
said-
Billy.
Well, see, that's the exciting thing about living in current year. We can actually look things up for ourselves, and I find that fantastic. You know, when I was a kid, if you were with a friend and you were arguing about something, about, you know, who won whatever World Series, and you weren't sure, you'd have to go to the library and look it up. But now we have a phone, we can just Google it and find out that information. But it's that way with analysis as well, technical analysis, scientific analysis. We can recreate these things. In fact, anytime you're making a scientific claim, it needs to be backed up. You need to be able to back it up and check it out and have people independently verify it. And so I independently verified this tape, and I looked through it, and I noticed that at the end, there was all kinds of really odd glitches where it easily could have been changed from one game to another because of all of the nonsense that was going on in the screen. So you have to ask yourself, what's the motivation of someone to go through and do something, to spend hundreds of hours and work on something to embarrass someone or to cause a controversy? People do crazy stuff. They really do. So for me, is there enough evidence to suggest that this is not a valid score? Well, the videotape that I saw was recorded on an emulator, but I don't know that to be the tape that Billy Mitchell submitted. And if he claims that he submitted a different tape, and it will be released soon, and he submitted a tape of the recording of the room when it was recorded, I'll have to wait and see whether that's true or not. But that's a really bold claim to make. So anytime someone was making accusations about something, whether it be murder or cheating at Donkey Kong, right? You really have to be clear on what your claims are. And here, Jeremy Young is making his case. And here's what he says. He says, so in regards to video sources and their potential fabrication, I would label it so unlikely as to be impossible. The amount of foresight, patience, and technical knowledge required would be staggering. By my reckoning, Dwayne would have to, number one, know for over a decade this bug existed in MAME, that's the emulator, and not tell anyone. Well, right off the bat, that's untrue. This video source was published in 2016. Why would he have to know about this for over a decade? That's patently false. Number two, know every potential independent source that would, in the future, publish clips of Billy's gameplay, know exactly what the footage would contain and whether that footage would contain the MAME signature or the emulator signature. Not true at all either. In fact, all of these claims are pretty much BS. Like, here's another claim. The claim is that Dwayne, he would need to craft at least 2 full-length games to match the independent footage. They would have to match Billy's original gameplay, pixel for pixel, frame for frame. That's not true either. In fact, the claim could be made that someone recorded an emulator version and they spliced in Billy's gameplay. You wouldn't have to do it frame by frame, pixel by pixel. That's an insane claim. And when I look at the list of claims made here by Jeremy Young, I don't buy them. Now, does that make this true or false? We still don't know. But when Billy Mitchell is making the claim that he has video of the room when he was playing, and it will be released soon, I'll have to see. So, do we know definitively if Billy Mitchell's scores are real or not? No, we don't know. Do we have definitive proof that he cheated? Not by a long shot. I'm not convinced at all. If I get new evidence that I can verify myself, I will change my mind. But as of right now, I've looked at everything that's been presented, and I'm not buying it. So, what's my conclusion? Well, I have looked at all of the evidence. I have looked at the gameplay frame by frame. I've looked at this so-called videotape from the King of Kong. I am not convinced that this videotape is legitimate, that it is the tape that was submitted in the King of Kong. And right now, I'm just going to have to wait for more evidence. But I haven't seen enough to convict Billy Mitchell of cheating. But what's your thought on it? Do you have an opinion on whether Billy Mitchell is a cheater or not? Let me know in the comments. Peace. You can help me reach my goal of 250 subscribers by clicking the like button and subscribing. Thanks.